the special grace of God.
Incoming.
Cross Riverians, Nigerians, make some noise as we invite the very distinguished Senator, Professor, Barrister, Ben Ayade,
Let me tell them how the thing goes. How the thing goes. Chevy make us a war. You want to kill and go drink us. You want to come back. You want to team with the big boys. Now you don't run, kitty, you don't run. Get a bit enough, we drink with a drop cup. Now sir, wait, so you see how you sing. Now sir.
Digital.
Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you. Please be seated. Your Excellency, Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the incoming President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and my dear brother, Senator Shetima, the incoming Vice President, and my good friend, the DG of our campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to create a new ideological focus, to reconstruct the catharsis of construction, and to direct a new principle that has a history, a heritage that is akin to our presidential candidate. Senator Tinubu conquered the Atlantic Ocean. He rescued Lagos. The nation is beckoning on you that the young men go through too much hardship. There's so much hunger. God is calling you. It is not by your might. I've got a spiritual gift. I have a celestial pathway to God. You are being summoned by God to rescue this nation. To indeed renew the hope indeed. And give a practical impetus. Because today, the black man is seen as being unable to rule himself. According to the works of Leopold Sédar Senghor, Watiogo Ngigi, and all the great African playwrights, they say Africans think from their stomach. They are greedy. They are unable to govern themselves. And that's why everybody in position only tries to steal and garbage and garbage. And that's why in material nature, we are constructed with big fingers and big fat nose to be able to grab and accumulate. You have to change the story. The narrative must be changed. Africa has to tell her story from Tinubu's administration in the next 8 years. Young men are going through too much. The principle of development in a sluggish economy is the first step. Way back in 1776, when UK started the path of development, they started with agro-industrialization. A nation cannot think of infrastructure when your young men and women are hungry. No virtuous womb can be put on the street to earn a living from her womanhood. You can never have a virtuous society. Therefore, to stop the hemorrhage of our young people going through the hardship they are going through, God is beckoning on you that it's time for us to come back together as a nation. That Africa cannot continue to be led by Nigeria in a way and manner that Nigeria seems to be an example. Therefore, by reverse geometry, God is calling upon you to come and start the principle, which is the real philosophy that lays foundation for the conversion of a third world economy to a first world. It doesn't start with infrastructure. It doesn't start with the heavy roads. It doesn't start with the bridges. It starts with the people. Let us shift away from GDP to Human Happiness Index. Until you begin to focus on the people, you have failed. When God gives you power, the first question you ask yourself, by thanatological philosophy, by the time you're beginning to go through anti-meristemasis on the way to aging out to die, you ask yourself a question. Why were you created? Were you created for the flamboyance of it, for the elegance of it, or for the primitive accumulation of wealth? You start asking yourself, God may have created me for a purpose. Your human endeavor on planet Earth, having gone through all that you've gone through, God is asking you to change the fate of humanity using Nigeria as a window. Agriculture is the way to go. And I can give you one example from the Cross River experience. We We started the cassava processing factory. From a cassava processing factory, we produce pharmaceutical starch. From pharmaceutical starch, we have a pharmaceutical company. It will obtain the pharmaceutical starch and act as a major stabilizing agent to be able to bind our active ingredient for drug production. We have a vitaminized rice mill in Ogoja. That vitaminization is encouraging young men to grow rice in massive quantum. By so doing, we have an infinitum of supply-demand structure. Therefore, the rice mill is catalytically creating jobs, and that kinetics will reduce the social labeloscopy that characterizes a society under tension. Agriculture is the way to go. America started it, Britain did it, Israel did it. In Israel today, we have the kibbutz system. Sir, Your Excellency, enough of all this grammar. The truth is that when we start cultivating our soil, when young men start having jobs, then you move to the next step, which is infrastructure. Until we begin to start the real development, industrial revolution started with agro-industrialization. Before we move to heavy industries, manufacturing, airplanes, aircraft. In our country, in our continent, a political office holder, a president or governor, wants to impress his people by roads. Who are those going to drive on those roads when the citizens are hungry? But when you give every young man 2-3 hectares of cocoa farmland, and he sells his cocoa to the cocoa processing company, the cocoa passes through a beneficiation process and adds value. In Africa today, Nigeria, and indeed the entire Africa, is accounting for 84% of the total global cocoa, but we only get 6% of the income. What is the difference? The processing from cocoa to chocolate bar is not done in Africa. It's done in Europe, in America, and China is taking over. God is calling on you at this time to come back and take Africa back to the drawing board. Go back to the ground and start constructing farms, massive dams to create jobs. But of course, you cannot start beneficiation without power. Let me mention this quickly, Your Excellency. You cannot generate power from gas. Gas to power is atavistically primitivistic. It's old-fashioned. The new technology is that you have to use gas as a feedstock for nanotechnology, for advanced molecular biology. Gas is used for the beneficiation and production of ammonia. Today, Qatar is one of the biggest exporters of ammonia, making multi-billion dollars. And our gas deposit is far much more than Qatar. But we're in poverty. 42.5 billion tons of bitumen, yet Nigeria imports every drop of bitumen into this country. Over 3.6 million tons of iron ore, yet we don't export iron or billet. God is calling on you at this time that we should go back to the basics. Let's forget the sophistry of the beautiful New York and London. Let's start with the citizens that are gathered before us here to guarantee that everybody has a job, everybody has food. When you go that way, it will give you opportunity that God has asked you to sell. Let me say it on a final note, that Nigeria is very blessed. The solid mineral deposit, unbelievable. I choose not to speak for Cross River. I choose not to speak for South-South. I choose to speak for Nigeria. I choose to speak for the black man because I know you've got capacity. I know you can lead this nation. And I know you are a practical person. I've watched you, I've worked with you for long, and I know your good heart. When I was in PDP, I had a crisis. I ran to you. You didn't let me step out. You picked your phone and started doing the job. My problem was fixed. That is who you are. You didn't ask me for a penny. You didn't ask me to support you. Recently, another crisis, I came to you. It was fixed. So God knows your heart. You are a good man and God will bless you. Your enemies will live to shame because God has already blessed you and put you specially to bless and transform this country. I welcome you to Calabar. I welcome you to the beauty, the greatest warmth of African hospitality. This is where you come, live, and be at rest with yourself. Calabar. God bless you, and thank you very much.
Digital.
Thank you very much, the promise keeper. Thank you, the very distinguished senator, our dear governor. Once again, please, we'd like to appeal to those of you on the stage. Please, if you don't have any business on the stage,
The photographers in front, please bend down.
If you don't have any business, please, kindly and nicely, please, we appreciate you. Our guests, our visitors, please,